Amazing outside.
All right. So my name is Mr. Westfall, and I am a seventh grade science teacher here at Rushing Middle School. This trip it's being planned for is for the 2024 school year. Technically 23-24, but it'll be the 2024 summer school year. And I'm presenting this to all sixth grade parents, and I think we got a few seventh grade parents in here as well. But at the same time, I promoted earlier for sixth graders because I've sent a lot of emails and contact information to seventh grade and trying to wrap up the trip that we have going on for this summer. But this trip is completely different than we've done. This is my fifth time traveling with World Strides, the company that hosts us through this. And this is my 8th overall trip, I believe, if I can remember correctly, in the many years I've been teaching. And World Strides has done the best overall of the companies that I've worked with. They are fantastic. They meet the needs of everybody that's going on a trip and accommodating, so that way everyone can feel included with what their kids are going to be a part of. So in the many trips we've done strictly a lot of Florida trips. But this Boston trip, I kept on hearing more and more about it, and it's all STEM related. So I was like, you know what? I want to hear more information about it. And the more they started talking to me about it, the more I said, you know what? This sounds like a good idea. So this trip itself, what we're going to talk about is 4 different things. It's going to talk about our trip, what we're going to see and what we're going to do, what's included in the travel program, World Strides as a travel partner. I will talk about them. And then how to sign up if you guys decide you want to send your kids on this trip as well, or possibly if you would like to go as well as yourselves. What we're going to do is we're going to switch over to see a quick video that shows you Boston and New York City, but it's going to show you a good component of what the actual Boston trip is about.
No audio, sir. Can't hear.
Okay, so it said it didn't. I got the comment that it didn't have the audio as well, but I can send the videos along with the link that shows that. So it showed just some highlights of the New York City trip and Boston trip, but ours is going to be STEM based in Boston only. It's the number one thing to look at is think of it as a cruise line trip for kids. It is all inclusive except for 2 little pieces: souvenirs and snacks. All hotel accommodations are taken care of. Transportation to and from everywhere once we get off the airplane. We have a charter bus that takes us everywhere we go, tour guides and everything. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are provided 100%. Attractions and activities, if we have to enter anywhere and it talks about saying, oh, hey, we need to go ahead and make sure that there's an entry fee for this, World Strides takes care of all of that. So the fee that's paid up totally covers every aspect of that. We get our own course leader who handles all the aspects of reservations, travel, any problems, anything that could come up during that time. Course leader takes care of it and is our guide through the whole process. There is an opportunity for academic credit. That's usually for the older classes, especially in high school, where they take some different courses where they start learning things that could apply towards a credit that they would have to go online and finish up. Each student is provided what's called a discovery journal, so it allows them to write down different things, answer questions, and do a little bit of extra activities. That it's a lot of fun for them to actually take note of the things that they do while they're on the trip. Safety and support is always a big factor, and it pays for that as well. But there is a lot that goes in. And when I first heard about this trip, I thought, okay, we're going to go do a few things. And then when I started looking at the itinerary with World Strides, it is literally probably one of the busiest trips I've ever seen. It is fantastic. And when you look at the whole idea, this is right here. You've got one part of the time on Fenway Park. We're going to learn about that. A duck boat tour of Boston, the New England Aquarium. And then from that, we will also go whale watching one of the mornings. We'll go to the Franklin Park Zoo, the Boston Museum of Science. We also will head over to MIT's campus, tour the campus. They're going to get a robotics workshop through MIT, which they will go through, send their PhD graduates, work with kids on how to program and code for helicopters and different drones, which is a lot of fun. And we'll also be able to go through areas of the Kennedy Institute Market Hall, Quincy Market, and things like that. Let's see here. Those are the main things. Now, when I look at that, and I wrote it all down, the day-to-day breakdown is literally as this. We wake up, we travel, we get to Boston, and we have lunch. And then right after lunch, we go on a the duck boat tour. And that is going to be a tour of all of Boston from all the cityways and different things. We have dinner after that, check into the hotel. That's about the only time after we check in is going to have any free time where we can go swimming, different things like that. They can relax. A day of traveling is always very exhausting for everybody, but you know, kids are kids, and if you tell them they can go swimming, they're going to take it at every option. Day 2 is when it starts to get so busy. This is where we do Fenway Park. It's a STEM tour. They're going to go on the roofs of the actual baseball park. They're going to get introduction to STEM and how that applies to the whole stadium. They're going to get a tour of the whole stadium at Fenway Park, which is one of the most iconic baseball stadiums in the country. After that, they're going to have lunch. Then after lunch, they'll go to the Museum of Science. We'll spend about 3 hours there. Lots of hands-on activity for them to be able to see everything at that museum. Then after that, we go to the aquarium, spend about 3 hours there. So there's a lot of interactive abilities for museums, aquariums, then dinner. And then after dinner, that's when we're going to hit Quincy Market. And if your kid likes desserts or wants to try different things or buy souvenirs there, that's going to be the place to go to be able to do that. Which we may also have the opportunity to do a little bit of walking on the Freedom Trail because it's right next to the Freedom Trail as well, which is an amazing area of history for this country. And then we come back to the hotel, and the kids will hopefully be tired from walking and learning, and they can go to sleep. On day 3, that is the whale watch, which apparently is amazing at that time of the year. So that'll be the entire morning. And then from there, they'll have lunch. After lunch, we hit the Franklin Park Zoo, and they're going to get an actual workshop through the zoo about different areas of what they have specialties at the actual Franklin Zoo. Then we go to dinner, and then after dinner, we're going to go to this place called Bodaboard, which is an escape room, and it is one of the highlights of the trip. The kids all love it. Every group that's gone, they've all said amazing things about that. And that is day 3, which that's 3 days, 2.5 days of jam-packed entertainment on that one. Then they finally finish off on day 4. They're going to get packed up in the morning. And then what will end up happening is we're going to take a tour of MIT. And we're going to see everything that makes MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, amazing. And what it makes it as one of the elite and premier educational foundations in this country. And why kids are in awe of learning science there. Once we get done with the tour, we'll come back, we'll have lunch, and then that's when the kids are going to start doing coding and learning from the MIT graduates about how to do extra STEM with drones and helicopters. Once we get done with that, we're going to take a late evening flight, and that's when we return. That is a lot of stuff. That in a nutshell is 3 nights and 4 days. And that is as packed as I can find a trip that could ever be happening. Most trips don't even go that fast and that furious with what they travel and what they offer. In doing so, when it talks about all-inclusive and everything like that, it is 100% all-inclusive, except for like, say, Quincy Market, or you're at the zoo and you want to buy a souvenir, or you want to get an extra snack or things like that. One of the things that World Strides has been fantastic about is the little things. One year, one of my students had said, hey, this trip would have been a 10 out of 10, but I spent a lot of money on water. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And I brought that to World Strides, and they said, you know what, Mr. Westfall, we got you covered. Next trip, we're going to have coolers filled with water just for your kids. So that way your kids don't have to purchase water. That is a game changer. That was amazing. The next trip, the kids are all excited because more money went to souvenirs and snacks. I mean, it's amazing what a teenage kid can fit in their belly. And in doing so, that saved the cost for the kids, and it helped out everybody. And it just shows how well and accommodating World Strides is for people who go on the trips, and they listen to the comments that we make. That is everything on that trip. And when we look at that idea of the trip itself, the weather is fantastic in Boston at that time of the year, which is one of my big factors that I'm absolutely loving the idea, because Florida is always hot, but it's exciting. But Boston in early June is fantastic. Now, I know this is the most important thing that you've been looking forward to, finding out prices, what's going on. The trip dates are from June 2nd to the 5th. And I always try to fly out on a Sunday because it makes it easier for everyone to plan and get rested and everything like that. And in doing so, what we end up with is June 2nd to the 5th of 2024. The price is $1,899 for 4 kids in a room. No more than 4, no less than 3. Can't guarantee the 3. It just depends on the numbers that we get. Family members and dependents of current educators, military, first responders receive a 5% discount on the base trip price, which if you sign up before March 10th, you get that $100 discount, and that's what shows at the $1,899. In doing so, what you end up with, 5%, I've already calculated, brings the trip down to $1,804. And one of the reasons why I do a presentation so early and try to get parents to sign up their kids early is I'm a parent. I've taken my kid on a trip like this. We did the marine biology one, and it's a lot easier when you start early and you want to break up those payments. One parent broke it down when one of our more pricier trips at the exact same time. She said it was only like $215 per month to do that whole process, and it worked out perfect. And she said, I just went ahead and put automatic payments, and it worked great. This trip is much more discounted than the other ones that we have been promoting, and it's a great trip. The only thing that's required is a $49 deposit. Now, when you sign up with a $49 deposit, you don't get the deposit back if you happen to cancel. But if you're wavering and you're like, you know what, Mr. Westfall, it sounds good, but we're not sure, it's too far in advance, my best suggestion is just sign your child up, get them in. That way they have the spot, they get the discount, you just put the deposit down. Doesn't mean you have to make any payments. You guys can still decide. When we look at that, there's also this thing called the full refund protection plan. What that does is it is a fee of about $250, I believe. Okay. And when you do that, you get, let's say, 2 weeks before the trip. You're like, Mr. Westfall, we had a family emergency come up. We need to cancel the trip. You would get all your money back except for the protection plan, which is $250, and the deposit. So you would lose only $300 compared to losing $1,900, give or take, depending on if you sign up early or not, or if you have that 5% discount. I've had kids, their parents canceled 2 days before the trip, and they didn't have the refund protection plan, and they lost all their money. And it's unfortunate. We tried every which way to get their money back to them, and it was just, there was no way around it. And so it was super unfortunate on that one. But reserving that spot is the most critical thing, because the more kids we get, the more we can control our destinations and how we interact with different things, because then the more people we have in our trip, it allows us to reserve certain areas when we get presentations and do different things, and it makes it much easier for us to travel in that factor. Now, when it comes to, it said back in the slide right here, it said safety and support. One of the things it did not mention that I have not mentioned yet is safety is my concern number one. And if your child has ever been in my classroom, they hear that all the time. And in doing so, my goal is always to make a parent or a set of parents comfortable with sending their kids on a trip with myself and other teacher chaperones that we have that come with us, as I would send in your kids or my kids with you guys. We have a 10-to-1 ratio for chaperones. So for every 10 kids, we have one teacher chaperone. We've never lost a kid. We've never had an incident, which is a great plus. And in doing so, we always make sure that the kids are where they're supposed to be. They're not changing rooms. There's no girls cohabitating with boys in rooms. That we don't do any of that. When we check them in at 10 o'clock at night, they're expected to stay in their room overnight. And there's no switching rooms, getting out of the rooms. There is a guard, and that's part of the all-inclusive experience. World Strides provides a background check security guard that walks the hallway all night long. And if there's anything that goes on, anything that happens, security guard, if it's bad enough, security guard wakes me up and we figure out what's going on. Worst case, it's just the kids being kids at 2 o'clock in the morning because they're all hopped up because they had a lot of sugar and they're kids and they're excited about not being at home for the first time in forever. And he or she will just leave me a note under the door when they check in at like 6 a.m. and say, "Hey, Mr. Westfall, we had room 1202. They were a little excited, but they calmed down after 2 minutes or 3 minutes." Perfect. They leave me those kind of notes and things like that. In all the years I've been working with World Strides, I've never had a report where I was like, wow, we have a problem. But based off that, they also have 24-hour-a-day medical. So if your kid gets a cold, if we're on the whale watching experience and they get seasick and we need to get them Dramamine, we just call a number. They have doctors ready 24 hours a day to go ahead and take symptoms, get information, get prescriptions out. We contact parents. We make sure everything's taken care of. So they are 100% taken care of throughout this entire time. If you're ever worried about dietary concerns, I've had vegetarians, I've had kids who have allergies, kids who have to carry EpiPens. World Strides covers all of that. So if your child happens to be a vegetarian, we let them know. They take care of that and make sure they find experiences for food that include vegetarian options. If your child happens to be allergic to gluten or honey or nuts, any of those things, we make sure we tell World Strides. They find and make sure it's accommodated correctly so that way no kid is left out due to any concerns for allergies, religious beliefs, or any other kind of things that go on with what your child may want to do in their lifetime. When we look at these prices, it is a great deal. Again, I took my daughter 2 years ago, and I'll be taking my son in another 2 years when he gets old enough for his next trip. And if I didn't feel comfortable sending my kids on the trip, I would not promote this trip at all. It's a big thing. And if you're worried about financial concerns, there's always, if you call into World Strides, they have financial assistance. I've had parents receive anywhere from $500 to $750 on financial assistance if you call in. It's one of those big things that I'm a big firm believer of this. You don't know what you can get until you ask. And I ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars when it comes to World Strides and pretty much everything in my job. And so if they tell me no, okay, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But it's always a good thing to check if that's always a concern for you. World Strides has been fantastic. They have been an educational travel experience partner for well over 50 years, which is amazing. They have toured the world. And I know one of the alternative programs is loves to do international tours. That's great. Not keen on going international, but that's just me. And so they have those opportunities. But what we've done in science is great. And everything about this Boston trip I've heard is phenomenal. The most important thing is we have two different registration codes. We have one for Rushing Middle School, which is 207850. We have one for Reynolds, which is 208188. you can either screenshot this picture or you can email me. I can talk to you, or we can just talk since we have such a few group right here. The most important thing is I'm a people person. I like to talk to people on the phone. When I sign up for things online, I don't get the reassurances that, okay, did I hit the right thing or am I asking the right thing? When I call someone, they guide me better. So if I need that financial assistance, they know who to guide me to. A computer sometimes doesn't do that. If I need to extend my payments, which World Strides is phenomenal, they'll let you do that. So it's one of those things that talking, if you have any concerns about checking out to see, hey, what about this or what about that, call in that number 800-468-5899. That's a great number to call and ask questions that I may not be able to answer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay around. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. If you want to type them, that would be great. Or if you want to signal that you have a question, I can definitely do that. But what I'm going to do is, I know we got someone else that just popped in. I'm going to leave this on the screen. And if you could just sign in using that bit.ly at the bottom, just type this directly. It doesn't need HTTP or anything like that. Just type in bit.ly/2024 Boston Science Trip. And that'll allow me, if we have any questions or concerns that I didn't answer, that I can help out about that, okay? All right. So with that being said, what questions can I help you with?